Right, Greg Wetherall, Front Row Reviews. Hello, Gael, Pablo. First of all, why Neruda? Why did you want to make the film, Pablo? And why did you want to get involved, Gael?
Do I go first? No, you go. I have some tea.
Okay. I wanted to be involved because of working again with Pablo and his outlook on what the film was going to be about. Playing this character was something very interesting, and joining again the family that Pablo has been building for so many years. He's been doing it for so many years
We
now.
started in the 20s.
Exactly, yeah. So it's now, to reach this point of maturity to do this kind of films is fascinating. Yeah, there were many. It was a definite. There was not a single consideration of, that made me feel like maybe not. No, at all. No, on the contrary, it's like it's definite. I'm part of the puzzle.
It's a good way of putting it, I think, as well. It's that relationship, you've returned to after No, and it's got a political edge to it as well.
Yeah, of course. Of course, we come to make many other movies.
Oh, is this the start of a Scorsese, De Niro, and DiCaprio relationship? Is this what
Maybe.
That's a threesome.
Where's the other one? Well, what I do think is that what happens is that we're a lot of Americans and we are, I guess, societies that have been described by historians and writers and journalists all over our history. But none of them have been able to shape us or describe us as our own poets. So for us, it's kind of essential to look to our poetry, not just to understand who we are, but also to breathe our language and our imagination. And I think this movie, more than about Neruda himself, is about his cosmos, about what we call the Nerudian world. And that's, it's just like, it's a movie about movies. It's a movie about a cab chasing a poet. It's a movie that talks about the movies made in the 40s and the 50s. It's a kind of a noir cinema. It's a cat and mouse chase. It's a road film. It's a black comedy sometimes, and ultimately a western. But basically, it's a movie about love, I think, and poetry.
It's interesting. I definitely picked up on the noir elements that they're there to see, and also Hitchcock. I thought it was very much Hitchcockian as well. Do you feel that Chile has been in the process of licking its wounds then by looking backwards in terms of that period, the Pinochet era, and the time that preceded it? And is this part of the grieving process, do you think, making films?
It's possible. It's hard to be, doing this and at the same time have an opinion. But I don't think we will be actually achieve any kind of proper peace and balance until we reach justice. And I think that is not going to happen. So I guess it's just we have to move on and just wait for the new generations to come, because as long as we have people that were involved in such a violent things as walking on the streets, we're not going to be in total peace, I guess.
From an external perspective, from a foreigner perspective about this, I feel that there is the worldwide kind of feeling that there is no ultimate justice. There is no total justice. But I feel that this process is an exercise of reconciliation in many ways. That leads to us to what the justice can be. Not yet, but it could be. Right. It is an interesting process. I get very moved by it, by seeing Pablo's work and seeing how he really tries to. His work is there is a danger to it in the sense that raises difficult questions, but in a way that tries to put people together into that discussion.
Yes.
And that process of reconciliation is so important. I mean, Chile is so lucky to have Pablo being born there.
Actually, I was interested because what you're talking about there is an extension of that. Neruda was an artist, and you're both artists, and sort of socially and politically engaged, sort of both collectively and individually. And I wondered if it's something you wrestle with and think, well, does the artist have a social responsibility? And if so, is it a question of the greater the platform, the greater the responsibility?
Well, now I can definitely say that it's not. I mean, this whole aspect of like, is politics separated from all of this? No, it's not separated. It's part of it. It's part of it. Whoever wanted to kind of like get away from it, it was completely made us also a political stance. You know, Elton John made also a political stance by doing his music. You know, like of separating it completely from politics in a sense. No, if there is no politics in Elton John's music, you know, I mean, it is a political stance. And I just mentioned that because there's always that question: is it political? Is it not? Well, of course it is. And now more than ever, because exercising your freedom is a political, choice. Nonetheless, I mean, I also am worried that the self-definition of art, you know, like I think it's more a consequence rather than an outcome. You know, it's like okay, I'm gonna do some art now. My risotto might be artistic, you know, like it might just come out so amazing in the toast I'm gonna make, you know.
I love risotto.
But you know, like the result is the art is a consequence in a way, and I think that it is a driving force to be politically engaged in what you're doing, but to also have the line and to put all the eggs in the basket of saying, and this is going to change the world, it's too much. It's too much because it's too much responsibility for that. It's self-defining. Is more what fashion or what publicity does. It doesn't have a relationship with the object. It's completely like a pre-established idea of what the object should be. And with films like this, it is a finding out. It is an incorporation of all the elements and finding it out and looking at it and sometimes just leaving it out there. And who knows, maybe in 5 years' time, this can be a film that is a pinnacle of what we were living or what we should be going or striving for. Who knows? I mean, that's something that it's out in the open. And but definitely we have to be political. We have to. We have to. We need to. We have now more than ever.
Yeah. I've got the wrap-up signal there. So I'm going to talk about this. I don't know if you've got anything to add, but I don't know if we've got time.
Well, it's just I agree with Gael. I don't know. It's just what happens is that sometimes we just hear so many things, and it's just words, and they're just lost in this press and people talking and politicians, and we struggle with here and there. And what actually happens is that ultimately it comes to elections, and elections actually change things. And in a world that is just shifting and spinning into an very unknown direction, and that it might be very frightening, I think that you can always go back to poetry and read it and probably sleep better. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, come on.
Thank you,
Interesting answers.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a great